Well, hello, my fellow Americans, and by I mean that the people who believe in what America was founded on is supposed to stand for, and not those commies who are laying around sucking on the government tit. Have you been watching, as is your duty according to our president, to be on the lookout for white supremacists and white supremacy? Because that's the biggest danger in our country, right? Yep, those stinking white supremacists. I mean, they're everywhere, apparently. They are everywhere because, proof? Ha ha. Nazis attacked the White House. You know all about that, right? I'm sure several other people have covered this. That's exactly right. Nazis attacked the White House. Let me get you this. Get this up here. I let this my computer screen kind of go to sleep on me here. Yep. A Nazi from, I think it was Chesterfield, Missouri, which just outside of St. Louis, pretty close to Ferguson. Flew to Washington, rented a U-Haul truck, and drove it slowly into one of the little barricades. I mean, hardly put a dent in the truck, right? But but he's a Nazi, and then was taken into custody, and in the ensuing investigation, and as they brought him into custody, they found Nazi equipment in his truck. Yes, that's right. A Nazi flag. Maybe you have seen this. They had it. They took it. They laid it out on the ground. Kind of like they did President Trump's papers. Remember how they laid those out on the floor, and then took a picture for display for the news? Well, they found this Nazi flag, and they set it out there on the ground in front of the truck to take a picture of, so they could get it into the media for all the soft-brained people out there to believe. See, this is proof, white supremacy. And the name of this Nazi? I'm sure it's something like Adolf Hickelheimer, right? No, it's not. It is Sai, spelled S-A-I, Sai Varshith Kandula. Sai Varshith Kandula. 19 years old. If you haven't seen his picture, I'll link when I put this one on the Patreon channel. I'll link the article with his picture on it. Well, yeah, Scythe Varshith Kandula is now the face, apparently, of Nazihood and white supremacy. Did you know that they have a case going on in Minnesota? I mean, obviously Minnesota, right? That they have particular programs going on, internships that are only available to non-white students. You know this, right? If I listed all of the programs that your tax money supports that exclude white students or white citizens, I wouldn't have time, because my camera will only record up to about 30 minutes. I'd have to do 10, right? And it's amazing how white supremacy has not been able to stop this. Did you see the thing about that ridiculous, whatever she was? Can't even describe her. Some professor that went up to some pro-life students and started yelling at them and cussing at them and throwing their stuff on the floor and telling them they had no business up there as pro-right. They were dangerous, and it was violent to try to get people to understand the pro-life position. She was not a white supremacist. She was she was black. She wasn't African American that I know of. I don't think she was from Africa. You want to know a funny story? I'll tell you a funny story. I knew a guy who actually was a racist. And in a minute, I meant to ask, I think I started off, have you all been on the lookout for white supremacists? Because, do you know any? Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I knew one. Been a long time ago. And I knew him. He was in a small town, and he was going to college. And he was going to college under a scholarship that was reserved for African American students, meaning no white people could have one, apparently, right? That's what it was meant for. But do you know what? He was the whitest person you'd ever met. How did he get that? You know what? Because he was from South Africa. And when they saw on his application that he was from Africa, he got it. He was the most racist person I have ever known. Racist because he had lived through and he saw what they had done in South Africa. He had seen what they had done to the white population. Now, this is not meant to stir up racial animosity, although that's what they use. Oh, by the way, that idiot that I was just talking about, who I won't call an African American because I don't think she's from Africa. I think she's from America. So she's an American American, okay? She's a black American. She's an idiot American. She's a communist American, probably, okay? And then ended up holding a machete to the neck of a reporter. She did get fired, which surprised me. I thought she'd be promoted. But apparently they did fire. I guess they can't stand up. I guess they can't excuse attempted murder. Maybe that's the line that they can't go beyond. Well, we'll see. I mean, they excused and supported murder in all the riots, right? So what's the difference here? I don't know. Hypocrisy much? So yeah, so white supremacy, that's our big problem. And they're going to feed this. The closer it gets, Uncle Joe Blow, he's going to pump this. And look at all the people who believe him. Look at all the people who believe him. Okay. First off, blacks are starting to not believe him, believe it or not. They're getting hip to the Democrats. They really are. My black friends are telling me, oh, no. They're losing more blacks every election cycle. Now, sadly, they're still getting 90% of them or 85% or whatever. But they're losing them. And they're not getting the Hispanic vote like, at first they will. But, folks that come in from south of the border, for the most part, pretty conservative. They're religious, they're family oriented, they're all that. But you know who they're pandering to here? That's right. Lily white, guilty white liberals. That's their big voting bloc, especially women. I'm sorry, ladies. I know we've got the good women here. But there's too many of your sisters out there that have been empowering the people trying to destroy us. So our real danger is not white supremacy, but white stupidity, who believe all of this stuff. They just swallow it whole. They can't gulp fast enough to get their white guilt down. And it's also being driven by the churches. The churches are some of the most destructive places there are to freedom and to our country. Not those who are preaching the word truthfully, but those who, the poverty pimps, and out here where I live, there's no poverty out here, but these huge mega churches that appeal to the guilt that finds itself in white stupidity and pushes this ridiculous idea and just laps up every word that people like President Joe say because they're afraid to be called racist. They're afraid to address the truth. They're afraid to consider the truth. They're so weak. You know our enemy? It's not white supremacists. You'd have a hard time finding one. But you would not have a hard time finding white stupiditists. That's the enemy. Okay, that's my rant for today. You guys remember, we got a fight on our hands. This country America needs a reversion, needs a revival, needs resuscitation. It needs, I don't know, how that's going to manifest. But it needs you to be a part of it. It needs me to be a part of it. And that means we are talking to people. Talk to people all you can. Educate yourself. Talk to people. Convince people. We are in the war for hearts and minds. Because if we don't win that war, we have something else that no sane person wants. Okay? Be careful of those white stupiditists. They're out there. They are everywhere, unlike white supremacists. And don't worry about Nazis attacking the White House. Worry about white stupiditists attacking everything. You all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.